Hello and welcome to my podcast, Restaurant Talk. I'm your host, Gazwan. Thank you for joining me today. Today's topic is consistency. Why is this so important? In my opinion, it's probably one of the most important topics in the restaurant and bar industry, and that's because that's what keeps everybody coming back, right? So it's very important to make sure that you guys are consistent in the food, your beverage, your service, and making sure that the customers are happy and are coming back day in, day out. So let's get started. First and foremost, I think it's really important to make sure that you guys are purchasing from the same vendors to make sure that the products are consistent. So making sure that you guys are getting the right size, the right portions from your vendors to make sure that everything is in place to make sure that your products are great. So with that in mind, if you guys are going to try to stick with the same vendors, making sure that your products are what you guys are looking for, if you tend to move to another vendor, or if you're looking to get it at your own restaurant supply store, make sure that you guys are trying to get the same products for the same dishes that you're looking for in order to keep that consistency moving. The next thing is, I think it's very, very important is to make sure that your prep cooks have a sheet in order to make sure the recipe sheets to make sure that they're making the right food. If they're not sure, that they can just look at the recipe book and make it sure that the ingredients are all correct. So if anybody happens to leave, you get a new prep cook or cook, just hand them that ingredient sheet and they can just make that based on the ingredients that you give them. So the food is consistent, day in and day out, no matter who's working that day. So I think that's what we sometimes kind of lack in the restaurant industry, except for I think where a lot of people thrive is probably more of your corporate, your chain restaurants do very well with that because they have that diligence in having those books and the recipe books and making sure that their prep cooks and cooks are all on the same page to make sure that the food is exactly the same. If you go to any of those chain restaurants anywhere in the country or in the world, whether it's a TGI Fridays or Chili's or any of those cheesecake factories, wherever you go in the country, chances are you're going to get the exact same dishes day in and day out. Hopefully, unless there's something that they're out of. But for the most part, you're going to get the same dish day in and day out. And that's what people feel comfortable when they go to these chain restaurants. So they don't have to look at the reviews to see, how's their food, how's the service. They know what they're going to get. For the most part, they know what they're going to get because they've had it before. People go to other restaurants and look at the reviews for local restaurants because they don't know what to expect because there could be some change sometimes. So I think it starts off right from the prep cook, making sure all your ingredients are correct and recipes to the exact. And then, of course, moves over to your cooks. I think your cooks need to make sure they also have the recipe books. What I've done in the past is we have all their ingredients and the recipes as well as a picture at the bottom of the recipe book to show you exactly what the dish should look like when it's done. So not only for the cooks, for the runners, for the servers, anybody who's running out that food to make sure it's exactly the same. If it's not, then they need to notify the cook, hey, you missed this ingredient or that ingredient to make sure that it goes out because the customer at the end of the day is the one who knows that dish has probably had it many, many times and knows what to look for. So to do that, we also used to even put them up on the wall to let the runners know this is what the dish should look like. I think it's also very, very important for cost purposes with the consistency is that you know what your food cost is going to be. Different restaurants have different food costs, but when you lay out your food cost for your establishment, it'll give you a consistency to know, okay, well, I should be around, 28, 29, 30, 35. It depends on your restaurant. So different restaurants may have different food costs based on the food that they serve. Obviously, steakhouses and fine dinings will have a much higher food cost than your regular pub or breakfast place, which have a lower food cost based on the products that they're selling. It's just simple math with that. So I think with the food cost, to make sure it also helps you in the long run when we're talking about menu engineering is your plate cost. You need to know what your plate cost is for every single dish in order to know, hey, this product is a little too high. I would like to actually change the price on this or change the ingredient in order to make sure that I'm getting the right food cost for my business. So I'm not losing money or Maybe I can raise the price on this product because it's a great seller. So we'll talk about menu engineering another time. I think it's also the customer satisfaction is what they're expecting. Customers are coming in knowing this is what I'm going to get for a couple of reasons. If someone likes your burger or likes your pasta or likes your short ribs and that's what they're coming for, if it's different on different days, then they're not going to come back. If someone wants short ribs and they know it's delicious and they come for it, once a week or twice a month or something like that, and if it's consistent, they're going to keep coming back. If it's not, if it's every day, there's a different cook and everybody's making it differently from the different ingredients, then chances are you're going to lose some of your customers based on that. I think it's also very important for brand identity. That we don't talk about that sometimes. Brand identity tells you, what are you? If you're a burger place and you sell a lot of burgers, that's your main thing, and you're not consistent in the type of burgers that you're making, I think you tend to lose your identity on who you are. Or if you're a wing place or a steakhouse, if it's different all the time, then you're starting to lose your brand identity with the customers, so they don't really kind of feel like, hey, I'm going to this burger place. It's exactly the same every single time, or the steak is excellent. I come here all the time. I think that what kind of you lose your identity with not having the same items every single time. I think it's also very, very important because with day and age of 2024, 23, even before, when reviews are starting to really kind of take off, and people, they say about 93% of the people look to online before they go to a restaurant. Yeah, they do. So what do they look? They look for reviews. If they see a review, someone says, yeah, I had the steak, on Thursday. I came back 2 weeks later on a Tuesday, and it wasn't really the same. So it's going to hurt your reviews when people kind of see that you're losing that consistency in any of the dishes or any of the drinks or even any of the service that you have. So you got to make sure that your dishes are coming out correct, so you're not getting those word of mouth or reviews saying that these people, are not really consistent in the food that they're serving. Also, I think it's very important with your recipes to kind of give your standardized recipes and procedures are streamlined, so you know where your food cost is if there's an issue with your food cost or your liquor cost, that you can kind of find out where the problem is that day, and then you can kind of fix it. If your food cost tends to be a little high and you see that, okay, we sold a lot more steaks, which is great. I mean, steaks make a lot of money. You're going to make more money, more profit, as opposed to if you were going to sell a pasta. Your food cost is very low on that, but you're making a little bit less money. So your food cost, if you sell more steaks, your food cost is going to be higher, but you're going to make more money. So you have to find that balance. Don't say to yourself, oh, my food cost was very high. You need to question and look at your product mix report, and you see, yeah, well, this week we sold a lot more steaks for whatever reason. So yeah, my food cost is probably going to be a little bit higher because we sold more steaks. If you were at a lunch place and you saw a lot more sandwiches or salads, then your food cost is going to be much lower. So I think food cost is a month-to-month thing that you need to look at to see where you are and what you've sold in a particular week or month, and that'll tell you a little bit more where you are. But I'll get into that another episode of food cost. But I think it's also very important when someone has allergies. I mean, we have to be very, very careful with people's sensitivities to allergies. So when you have someone who has an allergy to, dairy or shellfish or nuts, which are very, very important. If we miss something, if someone says, well, I have an allergy to nuts, and something slipped in, or that dish you weren't sure of, or that there was nuts in there by mistake, you can get someone very, very sick, and you can be very, very liable and be in a lot of trouble, and might hurt someone and maybe even get a lawsuit. So you don't want that. So the consistency and making sure that dish is made exactly the same, so we don't have any issues with anybody with any kind of allergens. I think it's very important that we pay attention to all of that stuff with the allergies. I mean, that's why waiters ask And people, when they come in, they know if they have a dish, many times before, either because they're allergic to it, or if they are vegan or vegetarian or anything like that, they know that that dish, I get it all the time. It's a vegan dish, or it's a vegetarian dish for me, or it's non-dairy, or I know there's no allergies with nuts or anything like that, so I'm going to get that same dish. So I think that's why people are comfortable. So they have to make sure that if they're ordering that dish, that you're consistent to make sure that we're not slipping up on any of these items that we've missed. And if something has been changed in that recipe, that needs to be addressed to the waiters, to the staff, to let them know. So hey, this dish has been changed. If someone has an allergy to shellfish now, this may have some kind of shellfish in it. So we need to take that off of that particular menu, the menu, to state that is no longer, whether it's a vegan or, shellfish allergy, that we need to, change that on the menu as well. I think it's very important to make sure that if you decide to kind of move forward and build your business, and which everybody would thrive to do, and if they want to open up another restaurant down the road, it's much easier to take those books, your recipe books, and move them on to your next place, and the procedures. And if you have your employees that they know, this is the dish, this is the recipes, this is how we make it, this is the picture of it. I can move that from one restaurant to another, and just literally, you can hand them those recipe books or those prep books and let them know, hey guys, this is how we're prepping, this is how we're setting up our restaurant, this is how we're setting up a kitchen, this is exactly what the dish should look like every single time. The only time I would say that the consistency might be a little bit different is, I tell my chefs is that, or the cooks, if you want to make a special, tonight's special, it's, if it's not the same special you've done 5 times, then the consistency doesn't have to be there, but you have to make sure that you let the customers know if they have any kind of allergies. If you've changed it from week to week, any kind of ingredients, you need to notify them when you're running the specials that this may have, a shellfish or nuts or anything like that, because they are specials and they could change on a daily or weekly basis. So those are the only things I feel that the consistency is fine. That it's because it changes, on a daily or weekly basis. But the other thing is, I would probably say the bar. A lot of people go out and love, specialty cocktails. If you're known for any special cocktails, and people love it for that, if you change it, or if a new bartender comes in and, let's say you have a smoked Manhattan and your bartender's not smoking it because they're lazy, or they don't have the ingredients, or they don't have a smoker, and the smoker's not working today. I feel that as long as you notify the customer, say, hey, I'm sorry, sir, you ordered a smoked Manhattan or smoked drink. We're out of our smoker. Smoker's not working. Would you mind if it wasn't smoked, or would you like something different? I think as long as you notify the customers of any ingredients that are missing, or any of the ingredients that are not going to be in the dish, or changed, if you say, I'm sorry, we're out of this, can we replace it with that? I think the customers will at least feel a little bit more comfortable to order it. But if you do it blindsided, and if a drink is supposed to have Tito's, and you're replacing it with, a different vodka, without notifying the customer, and I think that's kind of cheating the customer. Besides, the customer may know the difference in those drinks, and they're ordering it because of that particular ingredient that's in that dish, or I'm sorry, in that drink. So you have to make sure that you have all the ingredients prepped for your bar, and then you notify the customers if anything is missing. So I think a lot of places are known for those things, and they have those brand identity with their drinks and their food. And if you miss a spot on those things, I think that you lose your identity and you lose your customers, because they came for those particular drinks and those particular dishes. And lastly, service. I mean, it's you can have the best food, you can have the best drinks in the world, and if you really have crappy service or inconsistent service, where your staff is, might have a good day today and have a bad day tomorrow, well, guess what? Customers are definitely going to see that, and they, even if the food is great, people go out. A lot of people can cook, okay, and a lot of people can make drinks. People are not going out just to eat and drink. They're going out for the atmosphere, and they're going out for that experience. So I think to me, the most important thing in the restaurant business is service, making sure you're taking care of your customers. Because, some people, like I said, you can be the best chef in the world. Sometimes you don't feel like cooking today. So you go out and you want to have a great meal and great service. And I don't think we should, shy away from the service. I think service needs to be also on the top tier of our consistency, that we're making sure that we're walking the floor, paying attention as managers and owners, and watching our staff to see if they are doing what they're supposed to do, making sure they're taking their orders, they're upselling, and they're smiling. Smiling is the cheapest way to get a better tip. Making sure, anytime that if you had a bad day, we said that you leave at the door for anybody, whether it's a server, bartender, cook, manager, owner. If you have issues outside the business, please leave it out there. Okay, come in, smile, take care of your customers, take care of your staff, ask them if they need anything, and being more proactive. I think by being a little bit more proactive in this industry, we can kind of fix a problem before it gets too big. Once the people walk out the door, oh yeah, let me review this restaurant, and say, oh, this terrible service or terrible food. They're quick to, before they even get home, they're writing a review. So I think and I see it all the time, even with the clients that I consult for, and I see some of these reviews, and I say, did you touch the table? I think by touching the table, I think is probably one of the most important things for managers and owners to do, to be consistent and to be proactive. If something went wrong at the table, whether it's food or service or timing, I think if you notify the customer, say, "I'm sorry, but we're a little busy today, a little backed up. It's going to be a few more minutes for your dish. Maybe here's a salad on us, or can I get you another drink, for your wait." I think when you take care of your customers that way, they kind of tend to forget the bad. Okay, so I think by being proactive rather than reactive, we hate being reactivist in the restaurant industry, because reactive tends to kind of put bad reviews and bad taste in people's mouth, and they usually won't come back. And you know how word spreads, and that's not what we want. So by touching a table, making sure the customers are happy before they leave, making sure that they're going to come back, is a very, very important part of being consistent in the industry as well. So it's not just your purchasing, it's not just your ingredients, it's not just your food that's going out to the table or your drinks. Also very, very important. I think, in my opinion, one of the most important things is the service from the staff and the managers and the host. It starts from the host, making sure they're smiling, greeting the customers, and telling them thank you for coming in. Hopefully, see you soon. That goes a long way. Trust me, it does. And when you're smiling and you're having a good time and you're taking care of your customers, that's probably could go much further. If they had a bad meal, they'll come back. They'll give you another chance. But if they had bad service, they may give you another chance and probably ask for a different server next time. Because they know what they got from a different, that one particular server. And I see it just because, the one server might have had a bad day, the next day might be fine. So with that, I think I'm going to wrap that up on consistency. So do your due diligence, really start off from the purchasing side and then getting everything down on paper so everybody's on the same page, whether it's from the prep cooks to the cooks, to make sure that everything goes out exactly the same. The same thing with the bartenders. Use jiggers. Okay, that's one thing I always tell my bartenders: use your jiggers, because that'll give you the consistency to make sure that everybody's making the same drinks day in and day out, as opposed to free pouring. I know a lot of bartenders love to free pour, but if you use those jiggers, I think you'll be definitely more consistent than free pouring. So making sure everybody's making the same drink every single day. Thank you for watching. Take care.